terms, but in like trying to get people to do what you need them to do to accomplish the mission win. And that's exactly it.
Human nature. It took me, I don't know how many podcasts, must have been around, I don't know. But at some point I said, yeah, this is a podcast about human nature. Really, that's what it's about. It's about human nature. And where human nature is most revealed is in war or in atrocities or human suffering or human struggle. That's when human nature is revealed. And, you know, we had this conversation, and I don't know when, but I remember telling you and Stoner and being like, hey, look, when we go on deployment, people are going to go crazy. And look, I didn't mean, hey, these people are going to, but, you know, when you talk about senior leaders or, you know, people are going to start feeling pressure and people do crazy things. And I saw that from my first deployment to Iraq, where I was thinking, wait a second, this is just like, people are going crazy. So that's something that happens. It's just human nature is revealed. And if you're, let's say you're nervous about things. Let's say you're a nervous type of person. You're scared of something. What's that going to do in combat? It's just going to get worse. Let's say you're worried about things. What's going to happen in combat? You're going to be even more worried. Let's say you have a tendency to focus on things that don't really matter. You're going to do that even more in combat. It's like everything, your human nature gets exposed.
To quote you, it's combat is life amplified and intensified.
True.
And I think that's 100% true. It's 100% true. And it's like that friend that tells you like they go crazy when they drink. And you're like, no, you're actually just, when you drink, you actually are crazy and you're able to keep it contained until you put the alcohol in you.
No, you actually are crazy. And it just comes out. Yes, very similar. Here we go. Back to the book. So you want a command. How often have we heard an officer say, I'd do anything to get a command? Have you ever wondered if he really meant it? Have you ever wondered if he really would make a good commander? We have often heard the expression, a good commander is born, not made. This is interesting. So he's saying, hey, we often hear a good commander is born, not made. You know how nowadays they say, you know, actually anyone can be a leader. I shouldn't say it in such a sarcastic voice. People say, look, anyone can be a leader. You can learn. What I talked about in leadership strategy and tactics is it's both. Like you're going to get some natural qualities for sure. Some other things you're going to have to work in. So he says, we often heard the expression, a good commander is born, not made. And he says, this is not entirely true. By exercising certain principles, the vast majority of officers can become good commanders. There you go. He agrees with me. Let us see if considering the following 20 questions will provide us with some guidelines. If the answers to these questions are yes, the potential commander's statement is sincere and he should fight to get it and should be given a command. He will never have an assignment that will give him greater satisfaction or one that will enable him to contribute more to the Army and to our country. So here's the 20 questions. Is the officer seeking command duty willing to devote all hours of day and night, 7 days a week to his command? Is his wife willing to take an active role in helping to make a happy Army community in their unit area? Is his family willing to be secondary, if necessary, to the company, battalion, group, regiment, combat command, brigade, or division? I'm so glad he wrote that, because I still have people that will call me out because I'll say, hey, when I was in the teams came first. The teams were more important than my family. And I'm sorry, but you have to take care of your guys. You have to.
You mean when you would say things like, I'm going to go home and see this woman and these kids that live at my house?
Yes, I do.
And just for the record, Jocko's a loving husband and an awesome dad, but we knew that was a joke, so it was pretty funny.
Is he willing to learn, teach, stress, and live with the fundamentals necessary to make his unit good and believe his great talents for bigger things are not to be wasted? Does he like to be with young people? Can he live with their energy, points of view, and problems they create? Is he willing to take the hard knocks that come from carrying the responsibilities for the failures of his subordinates? Do we get to pass these things on, Echo Charles?
I don't think so.
No, we don't.
Sounds a little like extreme ownership.
It certainly does. Can he juggle at the same time all the balls of training, maintenance, test, administration, inspections, property, communications, messes, supplies, athletics, marksmanship, discipline, and public relations without dropping any of them?
Prioritize and execute.
Is he able to do many things concurrently rather than being a consecutive doer? Can he manage a complex job? Can he receive and carry out orders? Can he follow orders as well as give them? So number 8 there, is he able to do many things concurrently rather than being a consecutive doer? Opposite of prioritize and execute. It's like I need to be able to do multiple things at once. Here's what's interesting. I highlighted that and I was thinking about it as I read through the rest of the book. He starts to go into a delineation and a bifurcation between the title of the book, leader and commander. And what he starts talking about is when you're a leader, squad leader, platoon leader, at company, it changes to commander. And now what you have to do is realize that you've got to be able to task people to do things, right? You got to be able to delegate. And so as a leader, it's like prioritize and execute. As a commander, yes, you're going to prioritize and execute, but you're going to prioritize, delegate, and then have other people doing multiple things at the same time. I mean, when we would go on an operation, for example, did we say, okay, right now we're only going to set security. We're not going to do sensitive site exploitation. We're not going to do a search right now. We're only going to set security. No, we set security. Then we start interrogating prisoners. We start searching. We start organizing. There's multiple things that you're doing at the same time. So that's different than, hey, we're getting attacked with multiple problems right now. We need to focus on the biggest problem. And it also starts to lean into talking about delegation and how, and I've always said, even when I explain prioritize and execute, I say these words. Once you've got that first problem solved, or you've got it going in the right direction, then you can move on to the next problem. So if we're getting a contact from the south and I go, Leif, take your platoon, go start knocking those guys out, I don't even worry about you anymore. I'm good. Like, I might check in with you 5 minutes later to make sure you're good. But meanwhile, what am I doing? I'm saying, Seth, all right, continue the assault on this building, right? It's not like I'm saying, everyone, Seth, everyone online. No. If you can handle it, you handle it. Another way I used to explain this is, let's say you're building a building and you've got to get one of the rooms electrical done because they're going to put drywall in that room today. And you've got 10 electricians on site and the room is small. Does that mean you take all 10 of your electricians and you pack them into that room and put them all to work? No, because it's there. You don't need that many. You need 4 guys in there. That's the fastest and most efficient you can get it done. So you take those 4 guys, you put them in that room, you take the other 6 guys and they can start doing something else. You don't just say, that's the number one priority. Everyone just sit in there and do nothing. 4 guys do it and everyone else watch them. No, you handle the problem. You get it moving in the right direction. Then you move on to the next. Then you can take the remaining resources and apply them to the next thing.
That makes me think about target fixation, which is what we talk about with prioritize and execute. Which it's really easy. Like, this is the priority. You get so focused on that. But I mean, the example you just gave, like, Leif, take your platoon and hit that target to the south, and then Seth, you continue the assault. Like, you wouldn't even say Seth continue the assault because he's gonna do it. And you talk about how your greatest goal was to go out on operations and not say anything. And I used to think that, like, that was like, I wanted to be the leader, like John Wayne Sands of Iwo Jima with my helmet on sideways and my gun at high port as my finger is pointing, like the plastic army man with the finger pointing and the leader with his gun at high port pointing to the sky. And I so many times reminded in the middle of a big gunfight where you're like, I'm not saying anything at all. My team's doing what they need to do. The fire team leaders are running their guys. The squad leaders are running their guys. The leading petty officer's doing his thing. The chief's doing his thing. I can think 2 steps ahead. So, I mean, you have to be able to do that. That's decentralized command. And when you got a team that's running that, then you can handle 12 or 15 problems at the same time because each of the teams is doing their thing.
I was talking to a client today. And he was talking to me about how he sometimes has meetings. he'll have 8 blocked meetings a day or 10 that he has to go to. And he gets done. He's like, yeah, I know I got this meeting. And I had him pull up his calendar. And he's talking me through each one of these meetings. And I said, what's wrong with you? Like, what is wrong with you that each one of your teams needs to talk to you every single day? That's crazy to me. That's not decentralized command. That is centralized command. So you aren't giving the people the right direction. They're not hearing what you're saying. They don't have the guidelines. You haven't given them the trust. You've been an easy, but there's a bunch of reasons why it could be happening, but it shouldn't be happening. You shouldn't have to attend those meetings all day long, every day, because that's not decentralized command. It's not efficient. What happens if you aren't in those meetings? Well, the guys won't know what to do. Okay, well, there's your problem. Give them the guidance and let them run. And
if you're down in the weeds trying to solve those problems, which is what you're doing in the meetings, then you can't. Who's actually taking a step back? I mean, that's, when you wrote in the decentralized command chapter in Extreme Ownership that, I mean, that would have been a horrible blue on blue situation that happened if you were down in the weeds trying to tell, Stone or Seth Stone how to run his platoon. That's just the way it is. So I think that's your job as the leader should be to take a step back and think strategically. The next step after that. And you can, if you're down in the weeds, making things happen. But you can also see where people need help, and you could step in temporarily when you take a step back and you got teams actually handling those problems, which you did all the time as a ground force commander. When you're like, come over, you'd walk in the house after we call target security, walk in the house, what's going on? Check in with me. I'd give you a quick update on what's going on. Then you'd move to kind of where you were needed, where people might need more resources, or, hey, we need some more guys outside. Can you guys spare a fire team? Or, hey, we need more guys in the house. Let's bring a fire team in, or whatever it may be.
Yep. Got to do that. Continuing down this list. Can he receive and carry out orders? Can he follow orders as well as give them? Can he stand tough competition from like units and still retain a spirit of cooperation and teamwork with him? Enemies outside the wire. Is he physically and emotionally fit to carry the load? That's what you and I just talked about. I talked about the mental side. You talked about the physical side. They're both freaking grueling. Does he have the courage to make and stand by tough decisions? Are he and his family willing to live in a goldfish bowl where their actions are closely observed by both subordinate and superior? Is he still enthusiastic and cheerful when confronted with seemingly impossible tasks to perform with inadequate means? Is he willing to leave a warm office to check and supervise training, maintenance, and many other activities of his unit? Is he willing to take responsibility himself and correct the situation rather than blame it on the staff of a higher headquarters or on a subordinate when things go wrong in his unit? Man, we owe this guy some money.
That's pretty phenomenal. You know what? It's so humbling to hear that too. And it also doesn't. He's capturing the burden of leadership so well, by obviously someone who's been and lived it, at a multitude of levels. And I think so often we talk to like frontline troopers or frontline, leaders who are like, if I was in the senior ranks, man, everything would be great. And they don't fully understand the burden of leadership. And that's a tough thing. Not everybody can do that. And there are a lot of people that don't want that. And I think once they get there, they realize like, maybe that ain't for me.
Next, is he willing to do the best with what he has, even though what he has seems inadequate? Is he confident he can produce a superior unit with the usual run of manpower? Can he inspire personnel to produce outstanding accomplishments? Is he willing to take a chance on being relieved for attaining only mediocre results? Does he really want command rather than just to get command on his record? And I just realized he's got like a lot of these 20 questions. There's like 3 or 4 questions in each one. He snuck some in on us. But what a great outline just to check yourself and see where you're at. See how in the game you are. Next, what does the soldier expect from his commander? having dealt with the prerequisites of command,